All right, check the calendar. We are now more than 2 weeks into tax filing season.
Well, some Americans may see smaller returns this year without extra pandemic-related credits from the government. Taxes are due for most of the country on April 18th, but many Californians have until May 15th because of recent natural disasters in the state. Mark Steber, you there? Hey, Mark Steber. He is a Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. So tell us what tips you have as people are looking to save as much money as possible on their tax filings.
Yeah, some of those credits that were reduced for pre-pandemic amounts, they're still there. There's still child credit, there's still dependent care credit, education credits, over a dozen credits, including some new and expanded ones for alternative fuel vehicles and energy efficiency home improvements. But I always tell people to get your biggest refund on your single largest financial transaction. Keep it pretty simple when it comes to your taxes, whether you do them yourself or use a pro. Be organized, be accurate. You should have all your documents now. If you leave something off or have a mismatch, that can add delays to your refund timing, which this year will be about 100 million people getting refunds, well over $350 billion. So while the refunds may be a little smaller because of some of the pullback, it's still a pretty healthy payday for most Americans, by far the majority. Also, maximize those deductions and credits. There's a lot to watch and a lot to watch out for.
Yeah, really go over tax policy with a fine-tooth comb. You never know what surprises you may find. There are some things this year as well that may be different because of the Inflation Reduction Act and some tax breaks that folks will be eligible for. Talk to us about that and about, if you can file too early, because you want to wait until you get all your documents in before you really get down to it, right?
Yeah, you mentioned April 18th. There is a little bit of extra time this year, but that's never a good idea. I will tell you as a best practice, you should file as early as you can, and you should have all your documents. January 31st was the deadline for W-2s, 1099s, broker statements. So if they've not come, they're probably not coming, and you might need to go take some action on your own. But if you file early, as I say, 3 out of 4 people, almost 70% will get a refund. You don't have to be Warren Buffett to know file early, get your money early. That's smart. You file early, you lock up your data with the IRS or your state, so some schemer that might have stolen it or bought it off the web, they can't come do an end run around you. So file and get your money. Early lock up your data, but mostly to some of the new items, new tax changes, new credits, life changes drive a lot more of that. People are starting new gigs, side gigs, cryptocurrency. So you might want to file early just in case your tax pro says, hey, we need a little more time to calculate that home office deduction. And if you leave it off, it stays off. That's a big misunderstanding with Americans. They think the IRS will fix it. Well, they fix it for their side. They get their money, but they're not in the business of giving you your money. You and your pro have to do that.
Yeah, I wonder if there are any other big mistakes that people make when they're filing.
The biggest mistake, and I see this every year for 30 years, you leave it off, it stays off. If you overlook an energy efficiency home improvement credit, stays off. Education credit stays off. If you leave a benefit off, it stays off. And that's kind of one of those unforgivable sins because that money's not going to make its way to you. And it's about $1 billion a year in forfeited refunds the IRS just keeps because people don't take advantage of it all.
$1 billion. All right, Mark Steber, thank you.
Great advice. Thanks, Mark.
Tax refund time. Go get your money.
Yes, agreed.
I could use it.